It's easy enough to be a bushcraft prepper survivalist when the weather's warm and nice. It's a bit more difficult when it's cold and damp and miserable. Sometimes you have to get a shelter up quickly. So if you want some hints and hacks how to do it quickly and easily with a little bit of preparation beforehand, stay tuned. Getting a shelter up quickly can be life-saving. There are many things that will slow you down. The first one is having a whole load of tangled cordage. One answer is to lark's head the cordage onto the loops of the shelter sheet or poncho. If you have jungle knots, you're ready to go at a moment's notice, providing, of course, they're not tangled. Hanking any cordage, including jungle knots, in a figure of 8 is a good idea. It allows the cordage to be deployed easily and quickly without tangling. It's a little bit of preparation that doesn't take long, but it does save an awful lot of time. One way to keep them untangled and ready for use is to hold them safely in the loop. The big problem is how to keep it there. The answer's simple, and all you need is a pair of scissors and some old Velcro. Once you put the jungle cordage inside the loop, it's time to measure and cut the Velcro. Do it in situ. Make sure that both pieces of the Velcro are long enough to wrap round the loop and each other. Once you've got it in place, now's the time to test it. If it's too long, tighten it. The loop should be tight enough to pull down on the jungle cord and not slip off. Don't worry if it slips off, because it will stay on the jungle cord between your poncho and the securing place. If the Velcro is tensioned correctly, it'll hold the cord in place when you need it, when you're packing, when you're unpacking, and when you're deploying. It's lightweight, it's cheap, it's easy to make, and it works. Although jungle knots are my go-to solution in bivvy building, there are other methods. For example, paracord is good, and it can be attached and secured in the same way as I've shown with the jungle knots. For instructing in the field, I have a teaching bag which shows various materials to be used in the construction of one or more types of shelter. I have 3 medium length of jungle knots and a long roll included in the kit. The reason why they're in bags is they're easy to store and get out and use. 2 bungees are included in the kit. They're easy and quick to use, and they do have some give in them. This is an advantage, it's also a disadvantage. However, I always stress that bungees under tension are dangerous. I have a long cord with prusik knots already attached. For teaching, the cord is black and the prusik knots are white. In a tactical situation, they could all be green. With the prusik knots, I've got some toggles. The toggles can be used to attach the prusik knots to the tops or sides of ponchos and shelter sheets. The toggles are also good for joining different lengths of jungle knots. If you tie jungle knot to jungle knot, it works, but it's quite difficult to find where you've joined them and then take them apart. Using the toggle as a sort of marling spike makes life a lot easier. The tent pegs too can be used as marling spikes when you're attaching the cordage to trees. I carry 10 tent pegs, 1 for each corner, 4, and 1 for each middle to pull it out tight, so that's the first 6. 2 for the front guys and 2 for the back guys. Quite often you don't need 10, but it's always good for demonstrating how to make an effective and stable A-frame bivvy. In areas devoid of trees, you can use short tent poles, extending bivvy poles, or even walking poles. All of these will provide you with a height from which you can hang your shelter sheet and then peg it out. Mylar space blankets are well known in the outdoor fraternity. As well as blankets, they're also made into sleeping bags, clothing, and even emergency tents. Space blankets are basically metal-covered plastic sheets. They're good at reflecting heat, they pack up small, they're light and fairly tough. Using Mylar in the field can be quite challenging. To fasten it, you can tie some string around a pebble, string around a lump of knotted paracord, or use some suspender, or in American English, garter belt clips attached to string. Each of these methods means that you're not putting a hole into the sheet and therefore making it prone to tearing. The clips can be bought cheaply and easily from eBay. Plastic gardening string is light, rot-proof and tough, and can be easily made into jungle knots. The two together make a lightweight, easy to use combination that's not going to rot in storage. Having been out in the field, the system does work, but there are some drawbacks. First of all, the small clips are very difficult to manipulate with cold, wet or gloved hands. Therefore, if you're going to use this system, buy the biggest clips possible. The illustration suggests that this is a tube tent, when actually it's just one large sheet. So bear this in mind when you're purchasing. Yes, you can twist grass to make cordage, carve tent pegs from branches, or harvest saplings and turn them into tent poles. But all this takes time and energy, things you may not have in an emergency situation. Having your standby equipment ready and available in the outdoors can save your life. It can also make your time out of town more pleasant and productive. Get your kit prepared before you go out there training. You know it makes sense. It will serve you well, especially if your hands are cold and numb.